There's one thing I think we can do beforehand that doesn't take as much time because the video is only like 15 minutes, and that's the new Garrett Shear video, and it's on a subject that I feel like I need to weigh in because I'm a little bit of an expert myself on the because it's on Rika. It's on Rika. And I kind of like these feature match reviews. I've been enjoying them. I hope there's no 15 minutes of basketball references this time, but yeah. I'm gonna link you the video in chat as per usual and pin the thing as well, because I want you guys to go check Garrett's channel out. But yeah. You don't like basketball? I don't know. I don't really watch basketball, but yeah.
Review match feature. So let's take a time machine back to 2022. It's the European World Championship.
How about we don't take a time machine back to 2022?
Qualifier, and no one's read a plant card. Ricochet Avalon will nerf to near unviability.
This is still true to this day, by the way.
The last ban list. At the 2022 EUWCQ, it made its very first big breakout with a group of Brits. This trio, consisting of Jessica Robinson, Alex Robertson, aka Betty, and Marcus Patel. These three would all pilot the same build to top cut finishes. Not only took advantage of a format weakness, no one knew what the cards did, but he was also just a genuinely good deck. The EUWCQ is happening at the very beginning of Power of the Elements format, and most people considered Sprite to be the best deck. With the ability of Sprite Elf to reborn Totally Awesome for 2 devastating negates.
Dude, I miss early Power of the Elements format. I kind of realize that now. That was cool. I want to say this is only somewhat true. I don't think the majority actually considered Sprite to be the better deck. I think what happened is people expected Sprite to be the better deck before Power of the Element dropped, because it was more dominant in the OCG than Tearlaments. But then how it turned out in the TCG, I think Tearlaments was a little bit ahead in terms of popularity and how many people preferred it over Sprite over here, I think. I played Sprite myself. I thought my Mystic Mine Beat Cop Sprite was pretty good for Euros, but I think in general the majority of people at that time already thought Tearlament was better than Sprite.
And a really strong resource loop. It was quickly...
Which is still, by the way, it's a very confusing thing to think about for me, because I think like everyone was like, hey, in the OCG Sprite was so much better, that's why we're gonna prefer Tearlament. And a lot of people always mention Maxi when it comes to that discussion. Maxi is a level 2, and there's a combo where you can bounce Maxi with your Swap Frog. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Maxi, if anything, was better for Tearlaments than it was for Sprite. Because Sprite, if you remember Tier and Sprite format in Master Duel, Sprite scooped to Maxi. Tearlaments did not. Tearlaments just made a Kid Kalos with 1 special summon, searched Sulliak, and milled 5 on your turn. Like, Tearlament did not care about Maxi. Sprite did. Sprite lost if they got Maxied on Nimble Beaver or some shit and they didn't have an out, right? And so I think that was not the reason. I think the actual reason was probably Garura. Garura was an OCG exclusive that they didn't have in the OCG, and that shit was insane for Tearlaments. Like, that card made such a big difference. I think that was the reason. Not Maxi. Maxi, if anything, should have boosted Tearlaments. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, if I'm playing Power of the Elements format in the OCG, I don't get why they all played Sprite. I genuinely don't understand. Tearlament, even before Ishizu cards, with Maxi in the format, I don't need Garura, dude. I'm not playing Sprite. I'm not touching that. I'm not scooping every time I get Maxied. Like, I'm playing Tier, 100%.
As the best deck, but that was mostly based on OCG results. Following Sprite would be a widely represented Danger Tearlaments deck, with the goal of just using the Dangers to get free bodies on board to summon Curious the Lightsworn Dominion, a card that should have been banned 2 years ago. Then there was just sort of everything else. Fluanderees would run about just shiftering people and Yes, barrier statue was legal at this time.
God
but what
damn it,
was
dude, I
busy
hate Flute.
destroying top tables at this event was Mystic Mine decks. That is exactly what Alex Robertson's round 11 opponent, Adam Fleming, has brought here to the EUWCQ. Sometimes it would be a Sky Striker deck to utilize it, but European players would turn to Altergeist to best use Mystic Mine. Though being one of the most powerful floodgates, denying monsters from attacking and using monster effects, in essence saying you can't win the game, Mystic Mine has its own effect that removes itself from the field if both monster counts.
I'll say one thing. And one thing only. Mystic Mine is less toxic than a lot of other floodgates that are still legal. The card is toxic and should probably be banned, but it is much less toxic than other floodgates that they kept alive. By the simple reason that Mystic Mine is mostly a going second card, as opposed to these other floodgates that you just set when you go first and you win the game. Simple as that. I'm not saying Mystic Mine should be legal. It is a toxic card. It is not the most toxic card. It is better than other floodgates. Yes, it is. And that's why it was banned, because it was stronger than other floodgates. But only because it was stronger than other floodgates does not make it more toxic by default. It was toxic, but it's not more toxic than Anti-Spell, for example. And Anti-Spell is at 3. And Mystic Mine is at 0, not because Mystic Mine is more toxic, but because Mystic Mine is better. Anti-Spell is still a more toxic card than Mystic Mine.
On either field are equal at the end of the turn. So when Mystic Mine is slapped onto the field, it's either you have a direct response, or you need to manipulate your monster counts in order to remove it. It just so happens that Altergeist is probably one of the best decks to utilize it because of the trap card Personal Spoofing, which allows you to shuffle
Why
away
not both? I mean, I'm on board. Hey, I'm on board. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense that they banned Mystic Mine and they still have what is it? 3 skill drain, 3 anti-spells, 3 D-barriers, and all that kind of stuff. It's all those cards I think are worse designs than Mystic Mine. I'm not calling Mystic Mine a well-designed card, but I'm just you know,
Altergeist monsters from your side of the field to add an Altergeist monster from your deck. No monsters on your side of the field, your opponent can't get rid of their monsters, they're locked under Mystic Mine until they have an out. And the way that Alex's plant deck is built, he doesn't really have any main deck outs to Mystic Mine.
So the guy came over...
Wait, isn't it just... Don't you just Rika Glamour tribute your plants? Like, you can.
to like get me for the future match. And then like check my phone and I just get a message from my friends like, you're playing Altergeist on future. I'm like, like...
It's one thing to have a huge advantage in your deck building, but it's another to know all the small interactions in your deck and to use that toolbox to beat what's on the board. It's time to beat the most broken floodgate since Vanity's Emptiness. Let's go. Not that Alex isn't guilty either, though. One might say that it's fortunate that Alex is going first here in this game. But Mystic Mine is a floodgate that you can easily just slap onto a full comboed board. If you don't have the responses for it, you're in for a very, very slow game. So Alex sets up a full combo. Bangalancer, Strenna, set 3 with Ricochet, and a Rika Princess in the graveyard, Concon on field. By 2022 standards, this is basically unbreakable. So play goes back to Adam, where one of the most terrifying cards in a floodgate deck goes off. Pot of Extravagance, drawing him 2 cards at the small cost of essentially not playing an extra deck. Adam link summons into Hextia with the Marionetter and the Pukari in hand, sets 3, and passes. Betty dodges the Mystic Mine bullet, but there are still plenty of cards that can activate Mystic Mine. Alex starts his turn and makes a great play. He simply switches all of his monsters to attack position and gets in a boatload of damage, dropping Adam down to 20.
Okay, what we're doing here is we're playing around the Mize of the Land, which is another card that people nowadays probably won't remember that card very much, but during Mystic Mine format, that card was pretty toxic. It was like when your opponent special summons, you can activate a field spell from your deck. It's not a very good card these days anymore, but during Mystic Mine, you would set that and they would special and you would have Mystic Mine.
300 life points. In main phase 2, Alex goes in for a Rika Glamour, tributing his Strenna but is hit with
I think cards like the Mize of the Land and Metaverse were also a big part of the problem why Mystic Mine was so toxic, is because the card was designed to help going second, but people just found ways to make it work going first, especially when Metaverse was still at 3, right? You would just play a deck that would play like Trap Tricks and Metaverses and all that kind of stuff. And so it wouldn't matter if you went first with your stun deck, right? You would just activate Mystic Mine on your opponent's turn anyways. So that was a big part of the problem. Like if it was just for going second and having Mystic Mine as a going second quote unquote board breaker, I don't think that's the most toxic part about the card.
Very valuable Ash Blossom. On the new chain, Strenna is triggered, summoning Sacred Tree Beast Hypertion. And then Adam chains his Demise of the Land to activate Mystic Mine from the deck. Oh boy. Or wait, is this even legal? Folks, get your rulings notebooks out. Let me explain. Let's read over Demise of the Land really quickly. When your opponent special summons a monster, activate one field spell card directly from your...
Okay, so this card misses timing. This card misses timing. And I believe Hyperiton is like you summon and then you attach. I think that's why you can't use it.
Deck. Now, the big part is the when clause. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there are two different trigger conditions. There is the if clause and the when clause. In the case of if, it doesn't matter when the requirement was met. It could be Chainlink 99 when the requirement was met, say a monster was special summoned, and yeah, you can activate the card on resolution. However, the when effects are very different. Strenna is a card that reads, if this card is tributed, special summon one rank 5 or higher plant XYZ monster.
Dude, today is just a ruling stream.
Card as material. If you catch it here in resolving Strenna, the first action is to special summon, but after the special summon, Strenna attaches herself as material.
Yeah, so the then clause in PSCT, the then clause means that they happen not at the same time. They happen after one each other. So the last thing that happened was not the summoning of Hyperiton, it was the attachment of the Strenna, which means you cannot activate the Mize of the Land, which is worded with a when, so it will miss time. You've missed the timing for activating it.
On the new chain, Demise of the Land only recognizes an XYZ material being attached and not the special summon of a monster. And if you want some other rulings, Demise of the Land reads exactly like some other cards. Bottomless Trap Hole and Torrential Tribute all work the same way.
Yep.
Nerd session over. But no one catches it immediately on stage. So Mystic Mine gets activated on Alex and all he can do is grin. So now the Mystic Mine minigame begins. Alex Robertson, in order to get rid of the Mystic Mine, needs ways to clear his entire field in order to match Adam's monster count, which is 0. So he gets to work. And then, after both players pass back to each other, Alex link summons into an Aromatherapy Jasmine. And then he tribute summons Mudon to make his Con live, which can set a Rika Glamour from the deck. And then he activates Rika Glamour here. This spell card is going to be one of his most important resources. Not just the fact that it searches 2 cards, but it is something that can remove monsters from his field in order to manipulate the monster counts. And also a very nice technical play here from Alex. He doesn't link off his entire field. He leaves the Hyperiton on the field in order to prevent Adam from trying to break his own mine and set up his own board. So play goes back to Adam. After activating another pot of Extravagance, Alex realizes that his Altergeist opponent has basically banished his entire extra deck face down. So there's little threat of big combo plays remaining from his opponent's deck.
I mean,
so after
to be fair, even with 30 cards in the extra deck, you wouldn't expect big combo plays from your Mystic Mine Altergeist opponent at that time.
Adam sets 2 more face down cards. Alex Robertson sees his chance to break the lock. Alex will activate another Rika Glamour, tributing his...
You see, this sort of gameplay, you might not be a fan of it, but unironically, even just the fact that you can out Mystic Mine in these sort of spots is is what makes the card less toxic than, for example, a There Can Be Only One. Because what the hell would Alex be doing with his main deck against a There Can Be Only One? The answer is nothing. He would scoop the game the fuck up against the card like There Can Be Only One. And this is specifically why Mystic Mine was not always as toxic as other floodgates. Now, not every deck had a way to do this, obviously, I'm aware, and that's why I'm not saying Mystic Mine is not a toxic card, but the freaking there's other floodgates that are more toxic than Mystic Mine, and you will not be able to change my mind on that.
XYZ monster to search 2 Rika cards. That's met with an Ash Blossom, but it doesn't matter much to Alex. All that matters is that there are no monsters on his side of the field, and none on his opponent's end. The only thing that could stop this is that
this is not an argument to bring back Mystic Mine. This is an argument to ban other floodgates that are even more toxic than Mystic Mine. You're turning my point around in a direction that I don't want to. That's not what I'm saying.
Adam has a multi-faker in the hand to keep the Mystic Mine on field, but he doesn't, and the first Mystic Mine is destroyed in the end phase, and play is back to Adam. Altergeist continues with the game plan. He's hoping to be able to stick a mine onto the field, as his extra deck win conditions are mostly expended, to just completely lock Alex out of the game. So he slaps another Mystic Mine down from the hand, and normal summons a Silk, and passes turn. But that Mystic Mine is not going to be on the field for long. Alex Robertson has his Rika Petal from his opening combo. That is going to summon itself from the graveyard to the board and equalize the monster counts in the end phase.
I mean, this is where the Altergeist player would just like activate spoofing to put back their own monster, and then, you know.
So with no more ways to modulate the monsters on field for Adam, he has to let his second Mystic Mine
I guess he just committed to that too early. If you don't have a spoofing, you can't do that.
Go down. The draws for Adam had to be a bit poor for this situation. As nice as Altergeist monsters and Rivalry of the Warlords are, they aren't the cards he needs in this situation. Floodgate's not working as 2 Rivalry of the Warlords stare down each other. Demise the land being dead in the spell trap zone. Adam has to concede game 1. Mystic Mine is a good card, but sometimes the mine is too mystic for its own deck. In game 2, Adam gets to go first. He's trying to draw cards that simply lock his opponent out of the game.
I will say, no disrespect whatsoever to Alex. In terms of like gameplay level, this wasn't all that special, because he kind of played into the first Demise of the Land, even though he did play around it by doing the Hyperiton, but he wasn't aware of that, so that doesn't count. And then like all he did was out Mystic Mine in very obvious ways that you do need to be aware of that if you're playing a deck in a Mystic Mine format. Like, how are you going to out Mystic Mine? Like Rika Glamour tributing your board away and stuff like that is something that, I mean, it's fine gameplay, but it's nothing extraordinary so far.
With the focus so much on Rivalry of the Warlords and Mystic Mine, all he has in his side deck are cards that let Mystic Mine stay on the field. But he's not playing any more degenerate floodgates like Secret Village of the Spellcasters or Anti-Spell Fragrance, for example, because, well, in this format, you don't really need those cards. In theory, the Rivalry of the Warlords is enough to FTK 90% of the decks in the format. Except for Rika Sun Avalon. So as a bit of an awkward side deck goes in for Adam, Alex hardly needs his side. Put in a couple evenlies and call it a day. His deck surprisingly has its own solid Mystic Mine outs. So Adam gets to go first. He normal summons Marionetter, sets a Manifestation, sets one more unknown card, and slaps a Mystic Mine onto the field. Editor Fi here. Look, I just like the idea of slapping Mystic Mines onto the field. A simple turn. Hope you can't play through this. Looking at a Mystic Mine, Betty sets a single card and just passes back to Adam. Adam draws for a turn, sees he has no more playable cards, and passes right back to Alex. So Alex starts with one of his most important cards in this situation, Rika Petal. Just like last game, this card will constantly threaten Mystic Mine on the field, being able to summon itself back during the opponent's end phase whenever Mystic Mine needs to get removed. Petal searches the Mudon,
So this is where you're supposed to have spoofing.
and then activates itself from the hand, attributing the Petal to special summon itself. Mudon will search out Konkon, a very important card here, because just like last game, Konkon can get Rika Glamour, which will again be an instrumental card in clearing Alex's own field. And it gets even crazier from Alex's perspective. He crashes his own Mudon into the Marionetter, an actual genius play. Now, Alex could have removed the Mystic Mine on his own turn by just keeping the Mudon facing off with the Marionetter. But that means on the next turn, Adam might be able to push for extra damage if he has extra Altergeist cards in his hand. Robertson deliberately keeps the Mystic Mine on the field. Many players would be in a rush to get rid of Mystic Mine, but on the flip side, you do have to realize that your opponent can also play as well when you get rid of Mystic Mine.
So what Alex is trying to do here, which is very smart, is he doesn't want the Mystic Mine to die in his end phase, because then your opponent gets the first turn under no Mystic Mine, right? What he wants to do is he wants to out the Mystic Mine in his own end phase by bringing back Rika Petal, right? End phase, bring back Rika Petal, equal the monster count, Mystic Mine dies, and then you are the first player to have a full turn without Mystic Mine in theory, unless your opponent gets out another one, right? But you don't want to get rid of the Mystic Mine in your own end phase to not give your opponent the first turn of freedom, basically.
Alex keeps some perfect patience about him and wants to remove the Mystic Mine on his own terms.
Yep.
And not only that, but the plan to remove Mystic Mine during Adam's end phase prevents him from activating just another one if he needs to keep slowing down the game. And it gets even better. As Alex plays this game even slower, he sets his infinite impermanence in the same column as the last unknown set of Adam. So as he tries to break free of the Mystic Mine, he gets to negate one of the sets that Adam has. So with no monsters on field,
it wouldn't work on spoofing.
3 sets, he passes turn back to Adam. So play goes back to Altergeist, and all they can do underneath Mystic Mine is to set another card and pass turn back. Where in the end phase, just like in game 1, Robertson summons back Rika Petal.
I will say, I don't really understand why people are so mad at the idea of passing turns back and forth sometimes. I feel like everyone is so... with modern Yu-Gi-Oh, everyone is so spoiled, being like, hey, I can do 20,000 things in one turn, right? And then they're like, whenever a game goes like to turn 4, they're like, oh my god, how has it been taking so long, right? Like, the one half feels like complaining about how long a turn takes, and then when like a card encourages people to go back and forth and have like multiple turns and interactions, they're like, god damn it, which riveting gameplay, you know? I don't really understand that sentiment.
To equal the monster counts. And Mystic Mine destroys itself again. And with no Mystic Mine on the field, Alex has his moment to push. He leads with a normal summon of Sunseed Genius Loci.
Love that.
A normal monster, level 1,
that,
that would terrorize European YCSs for the next 18 months. Adam sees this and elects to flip up his newly set personal spoofing, but does not opt to activate the effect to shuffle back his Marionetter.
Wait, what?
So now Alex,
there's no Mystic
seeing
Mine.
an opportunity to deal with the only real unknown on the field, chains his infinite impermanence to negate the column that it's in. On the resolution, Adam will activate the multi-fake.
Okay, why did we do that? Why did we activate spoofing for no reason?
To which Alex Robertson has a Rika Princess to negate the effect in the hand. And also to boot with the effect of Konkon.
Well, all you needed to do there was just wait for them to link summon, activate Demise of the Land, and chain spoofing on to get rid of your last monster.
He gets to tribute the Marionetter on the field of Adam. And if you're wondering what the unknown set was, it was another Demise of the Land.
The reason why this imperm was smart, by the way, because you're like, why are you open imperming when they could potentially, like, you know, chain the spoofing to dodge the imperm and then it would not resolve, right? Because Adam flipped up the spoofing without using the effect, if Chainlink won, you flip spoofing. In general, every continuous trap card that has an effect that you can activate. When you activate a card like personal spoofing, at that moment, you have to decide whether you want to use the effect right now or you don't want to use it immediately, right? This is where, for example, Master Duel, you flip over spoofing and Master Duel asks you, use the effect right now, yes or no, right? And if you say no, you are just activating the card. You're just flipping it over to put it face up on the board. You're not activating it. If your opponent goes chain imperm to that, you cannot use spoofing as Chainlink 3 because it's not resolved yet. It is not face up on the board yet. While if it was face down, you could flip it and immediately use it. You can't try to flip it but not use it, and then later on in the same chain the same effect again. You can't do that. So that's why when he activates the spoofing, he makes himself super vulnerable to an imperm in the column of the Demise of the Land. Because once he activates the spoofing without using the effect, he can't chain it. At that moment, he can't chain it. He can't use it.
To win Adam. And if you're wondering what the unknown set was, it was another Demise of the Land. Yeah, another copy of Mystic Mind, basically. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, no, they got owned in that interaction. But, yeah.
Preempted, premeditated class play from Alex Robertson. He has dealt with essentially 2 Mystic Minds with just a single piece of non-engine, and it's not named Cosmic.
And a little help by the opponent, I may say.
Cosmic Cyclone. Alex is now free with just 1 unknown in the hand of Adam, and an Altergeist manifestation that simply won't...
I know with field spells, you don't need to declare if you are adding. Well, those are different kind of effects, right? A card like Pearl of Rhino says when this card resolves, you can add. That is different. That is not like once per turn. If there was a field spell, I don't know if it exists, but if there was a field spell that said once per turn, quick effect, you can do X, it might work the same way. I'm not sure. But they are... the Pearl of Rhino is different than spoofing. They're not the same.
Do anything. Unleashes a Wombo combo. Now, I'm not going to play-by-play this. This is like 30 different actions. But he assembles a big board with big monsters that attack for big...
Spiraler's Roar? Well, Spiraler's Roar is not a quick effect to search, so that also not the same.
Damage. Adam tries to body block with Manifestation, but Teardrop will go ahead, tribute that, swing for well over 10,000 damage, and Alex Robertson has taken down a stun play.
That was... Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they probably didn't know all the ins and outs about the plant deck, but that was a relatively weak chain of interactions from the Altergeist player. Like, it was just, if you have 2 Demise of the Land there and your opponent sets a trap card in the same column of one of your things, you can't expose your Marionetter to the imperm by just flipping over the spoofing and not using it. You simply can't do that.
Player with basically a hand tied behind his back. And yes, you can yap about Adam, he could have done this, he could have done that, but it's more to commend Alex Robertson for navigating the known.
That's fair. I mean, you can it's I guess it's more wholesome to point out the good play by Alex, because he did do what he needed to do to win that game, you know?
Situation perfectly. And a lot of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh knows how the rest of this story goes. Alex Robertson gets knocked out in the top 32 playing against another Mystic Mind player.
Because I will say one thing. The Rikasan Avalon deck was not good against Mystic Mind. It was not good against it. Only because he was able to defeat it there, it does not mean that, yeah, it was a good deck against Mystic Mind. Because only because you had the glamour you still had to get rid of your entire board and out the Mystic Mind in your own end phase usually, which wasn't great. You would probably just die next turn, so like it wasn't great. But yeah, good, interesting video regardless. I liked that.